Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. We might have some more people trickle in, but it's about 2 minutes past 12 Mountain Time. So I just wanted to thank you all for taking time out of your busy spring planting season to join this webinar. Um, I've actually gone ahead and muted most of you except our presenter, so to reduce background noise. Um, this is Lauren here speaking from Slow Food USA's National School Garden Program. I'm going to start with just a couple of announcements. I think you all received an email I sent yesterday announcing the Chipotle Student Essay Contest. Students are asked to write an essay about food and memory for the chance to win one of 10 $20,000 scholarships. And if they win, they also get their story printed on a Chipotle cup that gets featured in the restaurants. And the deadline for that essay contest is May 31st. So I highly encourage you all to share among your school networks and really encourage kids to submit an essay. The second announcement, I would like to also encourage you to go back and visit our website, gardens.slowfoodusa.org, as we are trying to consistently add new resources. Some of you may have seen the first volume of Slow Food USA's Good, Clean, and Fair School Gardening Curriculum is up. You can download the lesson plans from the Good volume, or you can purchase them on the website as well. We've done a little bit of restructuring of the navigation of the website. So now the top menu bar is much easier to use. It's very intuitive, and we hope that you'll find it useful. Um, Next, I'd love to know who is on the call. So I'm just going to momentarily unmute people, and I would love to go by time zone and just hear who's joined us. So is there anyone from the East Coast on the call?
Scott Lewis here from Slow Food Plays the
This
Coast
is
Town.
Barbara Fox. I'm at Stonebrook Montessori in Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi, Barbara.
Scott Lewis here from Slow Food Plays the Coast Town in South Florida.
Hi, Scott. Folks can also introduce themselves using the chat function if their audio and microphone are not working. Do we have anyone else here from the Eastern time zone?
Molly McCracken here from Red Wiggler Community Farm.
Hi, Molly. Okay, anyone else before we move on? Okay.
My name's Laura Ramos. I'm with the Refresh Project here in New Orleans.
Oh, hi, Laura.
They're there today.
Hi.
Okay, and how about Central time?
John Hornbeck with Slow Food in Kansas City, Missouri.
Hi, John. Great to have you.
Hi, Jonathan. Okay. Yeah, that would be great. And if it doesn't make sense,
Anyone else from the Central time zone? Okay, how about Mountain time?
I'm Mia Carrasco-Songer, and I'm with the Garden Project of Southwest Colorado.
Hi, Mia. Okay, how about West Coast?
Yeah, Zeno Schwerting, Redbird, California.
Oh, I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat yourself, please?
Zeno.
Hi, Zeno. Okay, anyone else from California or the West Coast?
Hi there.
Hi, who's this?
Hi, my name is Erin. I'm with the Children's Center at Kelly San Luis Obispo.
Great. Okay, anyone else? And then if not, we will move on.
I'm over on GMT time in Rome, Italy. My name's Julianne. I'm with Food for Thought.
Hi, Julianne. Great to have you. I'm glad you could join us even with the big time zone difference.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
My name is Kat, and I'm with Food for, and I am serving in southern New Mexico.
Hi, Kat. Great to have you. Okay, that's great. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and mute you all just to reduce background noise. Making sure I do not mute our presenter. Okay. Just a few housekeeping. You should all be able to see the chat function.
Everybody,
Oh, I'm sorry?
you unmuted me too, so I assume you unmuted everybody.
Okay, thank you. Let me try that one more time. Okay, so if you want to ask a question at any point during the presentation, you can feel free to use the chat function, and we'll also do Q&A at the end. I've listed the website for the Edible Schoolyard project, also the Slow Food School Garden website, and the fact that this webinar is going to be recorded and available on our site if you would like to share it with others who weren't able to make it. So to start, today we have Hannah Piercey joining us. She joined the Edible Schoolyard project 2 years ago. As community manager, she's responsible for the day-to-day management of the Edible Schoolyard Network online community, as well as the Edible Schoolyard project's blog and social media. So today, Hannah's going to tell us a little bit more about the Edible Schoolyard Network and how you can utilize it as a tool for your school garden efforts. Hannah, you're all good to go. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'd like to start just by thanking Lauren for organizing this and inviting me to join. We're really thrilled to be here and connect closely with the slow food community. So to begin, a little background about the Edible Schoolyard project. We were founded just about 20 years ago by Chef Alice Waters and are based in Berkeley, California. Our work falls into a few main program areas, and that is what's represented on this slide. So in the top left, we support the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley, which is a kitchen and garden education program at a local middle school here in Berkeley. It provides direct education to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who come out to the garden and kitchen classroom during the school day, and it's also our home base for developing curriculum and other best practices. We also provide professional training and support to educators from around the country. Most significantly, we have a summer academy, which is a week-long intensive professional development training. And finally, we run the Edible Schoolyard Network, which is what we are here to talk about today. So Lauren, you can just move on to the next slide. Wonderful. So I hope today just to give you a quick overview of the network, which is our online community for edible education programs and organizations. I'm going to show you how the network can support your work and share how others are using the network. And hopefully that will help inspire you to connect and share your work on the network. So just a little bit of background. We launched edibleschoolyard.org, which is home to the network, in February 2012. And our desire was really to share the best practices and lessons of the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley as widely as possible. But more importantly, we knew there were thousands of inspiring model edible education programs in existence, each with their own arsenals of knowledge. And we wanted the network to be an open community for anyone willing to share their experiences and help others getting started, facing a challenge, or looking for a community of support. We really believe that
I'm sorry,
educators
Hannah,
and
can
advocates.
you hold on one second, please?
Yeah.
Folks, I've muted everyone who's using their computer, but I do not have the ability to mute you if you're using your telephone. So if you've dialed in using a phone, please mute yourself at this time, because we would love to hear Hannah and what she has to say. So please mute yourself now if you're on your phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. I think there might be a little street noise out there. So getting back to it, the network's really rooted in our belief that connecting educators and advocates working in edible education is one more way to help shape the really quickly expanding movement and build a tighter knit and stronger community. So in building the network, we were particularly interested in showing where edible education is most prevalent and how it continues to grow and shape itself, and how different variables such as climate or location and educational setting, among other things, influence programming. So as you can see, this is a quick shot of our homepage, which will feature just regular updates of different resources and programs that are on the network. And if you scroll down, which is the next slide, we also have regular updates to our blog featuring different program stories or webinars, trainings, all that on here as well. So as of today, the network connects nearly 4,100 programs, and it represents all 50 states and nearly 60 countries. So we are really excited to see that growth over the past few years. So like I mentioned, we're just going to do a quick walkthrough of the network, and then I'll have a little time to answer questions. So moving on to the next slide. This is a shot of a member profile. So when you join the network, you create a member profile which stores all of your network activities, so you can favorite resources, collect things you're interested in, and also it highlights what you've shared with the network. It's your space to feature your background and details of your own work, and also highlight the programs that you've created and added on the network, which is the next slide over. You can see how the member profile there connects to the program profile. So this allows you to both see members and what they're doing as individuals, and then move over onto their program profile. And that would be the next slide. Perfect. So program profiles are the place in the network where you can share your program's mission and work and provide contact information to help other members and programs connect to you directly. It's also where you can list other staff members and supporters. And this is just a really great space to really highlight and celebrate your program, as well as, like I mentioned, provide information so other people on the network or in your community coming into the network can connect with you directly through this profile. And you can move on to the next slide from here. Perfect. So as I mentioned earlier, mapping the growth of the movement and the richness of programs is really the core mission of Edible Schoolyard Network. Our network map is interactive and searchable. So here you can see how that network profile that we just looked at is represented on the map, zoomed at a local, regional, and national level. And you can just slide through those next slides, Lauren. Perfect. So you can see from the local to the regional, and then finally to the national, how the map clusters. And you can, I really encourage you to go on our site to the network page and interact and explore the map at different levels. So the map demonstrates the impact of the powerful work we know is happening in communities across the country. And we see online program-to-program connections happening every day, but we also see a lot of the map being used to build support for programs offline. So different cities highlighting the programs on their map or connecting with each other on the ground. We also encourage you to use the advanced search tools, which is what's highlighted on this slide, to search programs. You can sort them by location, by program type, or by participant age, the grade level that folks are reaching. An additional search option can be found in this left-hand corner, which is our Partners for Change mapping tool. And this highlights individual programs associations with larger organizations such as Food Corps, the Whole Kids Foundation, and of course, Slow Food. So this is a great way to see the growth of the movement and organizations that are helping to cultivate and support that growth. And we also want to collaborate with the Partners for Change to share the resources and expertise with the network. So the next slide is the Slow Food badge. And as I mentioned, so we have a Slow Food Partners for Change badge, and you might have noticed these badges on the program profile I showed earlier, but this allows us to create, oh, one slide back. Perfect. Adding the Slow Food badge to your profile will allow you to add your program to the Slow Food map. So by searching on this page that we have here, you can create a map of just Slow Food associated programs on the network. And we're really proud to be partnering with Slow Food and excited about the opportunity to grow this map and highlight the great work that we know is happening with Slow Food School Gardens across the country. Perfect. You can move on. There's the badge. Wonderful. So this is a shot of our resource section, and this is where you can discover materials offered by fellow members and also share your own. So you can search by a number of criteria, including the program type, so whether it's a garden, kitchen, farm-based program, a resource type, which is a lesson or a best practice, if it's about program management or volunteer management, also by subjects, which are the academic subjects, the grade level, or the season that the resource is focused on. So if you move on to the next slide, we have a sample lesson resource. We have, this can be really helpful to go through the key tools. So this is one of the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley's history lessons for 6th graders. And you can see the template outlines the objectives as well as the content of the lesson. And if you scroll to the next slide, we also are working hard to incorporate standards. As we know, with the role of Common Core and the adoption of states, we're really interested in connecting edible education curriculum with these standards. So you can add a little section currently to your resource and highlight that or look for that on others. And then finally, also in this, we have a comment section, which is the next slide. And this allows you to interact with shared resources by rating them, or you can add a comment. And we've seen a lot of connections be made here, you know, whether it is adapting or connecting to move offline. So we see this as a really great way to share knowledge and connect. Perfect, so you can move on to the next slide. This is a library, an example of a library. So you can organize the resources you've either found or the ones you've uploaded into libraries. So these are little collections to store units, or just the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley is this example here, and they just have their 6th, 7th, and 8th grade curriculum stored each, so everything's contained. And you can create libraries both as a member or on the program profiles. And this, like I mentioned, is the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley's libraries, and they have over 75 shared resources from that program, including all their lessons from both the school year and the Professional Development Academy training. Great, moving on to the next slide. So these next few slides just highlight some of the resources that we have in this section. This first one is a screenshot of a webinar we recently did with a phenomenal program from New Orleans called Grow Dat Youth Farm. And we originally got connected to them through the creation of their curriculum on the resource section, and then hosted Joanna Firth, who is the program director, and a colleague from the Food Project to talk about how they put their curriculum that they shared into practice. So we often take the resources and do trainings or blog posts from them to reach the broader community and bring people together. Moving on. And there are, of course, a lot of resources for kitchen and garden classrooms. And this example is from Katie Culpepper from the North Country Day School, which is a farm-based program in upstate New York. And she's contributed dozens of really unique and adaptable farm-based lessons. So we're really proud of that. And if you continue on. This is an example from the program who I shared their profile earlier, which is the New Era Academy in Baltimore, Maryland. And I think this one's really unique because Jennifer Crisp, who shared this resource, actually adapted it from a lesson that she had picked up at the Edible Schoolyard Academy from the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley. So we're always really excited to see examples of members remixing and resharing others' resources and building upon each other's work for their own communities. And moving on. Great, so we have this resource kind of represents, in addition to lessons and curriculum, we also have a lot of resources featuring policy and research, as well as program management and evaluation. So this is from a brief in the school lunch program from the School Food Focus Organization. And the next slide is from the DC State Superintendent School Garden Program, and it shares how the program coordinator assesses the needs of school garden sites across the district. So there are both lessons and then also technical resources for folks on the network, including the next, which is a video from Gateway Greening in Missouri, I believe. And they have contributed several videos that are both professionally done and handmade that kind of highlight the more technical aspects of gardening and planting versus the educational. Great. So continuing on, we also have, as I mentioned earlier, our network news section, which houses our blog, events, and recommended reading section. So this is where we kind of step away from, take a step beyond the network, and we highlight people's work and conversations going on that we've created through the network and resource section. So this is just a great way, once you've shared your work or connected to the network, for us to further highlight your work. And I'm always really curious to talk to people and connect with them for blog posts. So if you're interested in contributing, you can email me anytime. And you can move past this. Wonderful. And this is our recommended reading section. So this is where we try to collect school food news and also larger food news from around the internet in one place to make it a really easy hub for information and make it easy for our network members to stay updated with what's happening in the larger context of edible education and school food. Moving on. We also have an event section. So this is where we feature both regional and national conferences, workshops, useful webinars, really all sorts of gatherings that people can connect with on the ground beyond the network and also online to train. And our goal is really to create a comprehensive collection of the latest news from the edible education community and also the larger food movement. And to that end, we have a weekly digest of everything that's going on to the network that we send to members' inbox. So even if you don't have a lot of time to spend on the internet, since you're out in the garden, we always send that once a week on Fridays. And it's just a great, easy collection of program features, the blog, recommended reading, and events that you can get in your inbox each Friday. Perfect. So that's the overview of the network and the different tools. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, anytime you can email me at hannah@edibleschoolyard.org. And I'm always here to lend support and help you get further connected. So hopefully we'll be seeing those of you that haven't joined yet on the network soon.
Thank you so much, Hannah. That was incredibly informative, and there are certainly many similarities, I think, between Slow Food USA's school garden website and that of the Edible Schoolyard Project. So we're excited to continue to collaborate. And thank you for that great presentation. I will field questions now. It'd be great if folks could use the chat function because it gets a little bit messy with background noise when people try to use microphones. If you've called in on your telephone, however, and don't have access to chat, feel free to ask your question over the phone. Have any of you people on the webinar signed up with the Edible Schoolyard yet? Maybe some folks could speak about their own experiences with being part of the network if you've gotten a chance to add your program to the map or use any of the resources.
That's great. I actually see a question here in the chat box about lessons on the network.
Oh, yeah, great.
And so I highlighted a few earlier that I really recommend checking out. Katie Culpepper's from the North Country Day School are excellent, and I really enjoy, of course, the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley has their full suite of resources. And we see more and more coming on every day that are really connected to standards and also just really great, quick garden activities. We have a few on there from Life Lab in Santa Cruz, California that are wonderful. Yes, North Country Day School. and that is in Lake Placid, New York, I believe. So those are farm-based lessons, but they're really creative and adaptable, I think, to the school garden setting. And we're hoping always to improve our resources, and we have a lot of exciting plans in the next few months to roll out some new features and collect the lessons in new ways. So it's definitely a good time to stay tuned. And it's great to see here so a few people are interested in joining. We're really excited to have you. And as Lauren mentioned, we're looking forward to collaborating more with Slow Food. We do include high schools. We have, I think, about 90 high schools included in our programs right now. So it definitely has room for growth, and that's something we're really interested in focusing on in the next few months. So if you work in a high school, I'd love to connect and talk with you a little bit more. We just had a visit from a high school in Louisville, Kentucky the other day, and are hoping to get some of their curriculum up on the website. But we are definitely always on the lookout for high school lessons and program models.
Hannah, it looks like there was another question from Jaya in Oregon about junior master gardeners, and I'm not sure if that was a question about curriculum, but I don't know if you can speak to that.
We don't have any specific curriculum from the Junior Master Gardeners program that I know of. Again, I'm really interested in learning more. I know we might have a few programs, well, several programs, more than a few, that are connected with the Master Gardeners in their communities, so that seems like a good fit.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Actually, next week, Andy and I are going to be traveling to Southern California, where we are connecting our local slow food chapter with the Master Gardener Associations of both San Diego and Los Angeles. So if people haven't explored that as an option for school garden technical assistance and education, I think that would be a great connection. It looks like we have a couple other questions coming in. Scott Lewis from Florida is asking if you're planning any seed exchanges, which is something Slow Food is working on right now.
We aren't. I love that idea of seed exchanges, though, and I'm curious to learn more about Slow Food's plans to do so. So that seems like a great idea. And I'm not quite sure what you mean by on-the-ground branding, so maybe you can clarify that a little more.
I'll unmute Zeno right now, and then he can ask you about that on the ground.
Perfect.
Zeno, you're good too.
Yeah, I wonder whether the schoolyard sign is present in these schools, or they use it in their outreach, or.
Yeah, we don't really have any program in terms of signage or anything about that towards the Edible Schoolyard. The network is the easiest way, really, to connect with us and how we like to connect with other programs across the country, and of course through our trainings and academy.
Thanks.
But not currently, no.
Thanks for that question, Zeno. I'm not sure if you've seen our Slow Food USA school garden signs, but there's the option for schools to add community partners and sponsors. And I'm sure that would be a great opportunity for a school to acknowledge the Edible Schoolyard project through putting their logo on the sign as well. And there's more info about our Slow Food Welcome signs on the website. It looks like there was another question from Emily asking about the weekly newsletter and what's usually covered and how to access those.
Right, so the weekly newsletter, we cover a broad range of things every week. So we always have a few featured resources that are coming from around the network, as well as a few program features, so just closer looks at program profiles, as well as the blog posts looking closer at what people are doing and how people are connecting different models of work, as well as larger topics around edible education and school food. The hope there is to spark inspiration. And then we also always have a few events, so those are trainings or conferences that are connected at a regional or national level, as well as our recommended reading section, which takes a really broad range of different news stories that are both directly applicable to research, policy, as well as different programs working on the ground. And the best way to access those, so you can go onto our website, edibleschoolyard.org, and right at the top there's a button that says subscribe. So if you just sign on there, you will start receiving them this week, tomorrow. Let's see, moving down.
We have another question from Heather, who says, we have a dedicated core group of teachers who are beginning a school garden as well as an outdoor classroom forest school. We have concerns about sustainability and parent volunteers. Do you have any thoughts and experience around this?
That's a good question. So our general philosophy of getting started is to start small and go deep. So the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley has shared all their volunteer resources of how their management system works for volunteers, as well as their booklets and the materials they use to keep everyone organized and on schedule. So I'm happy to post that or send that your way, Heather. It might be helpful as you're getting started.
Heather, we also have some great resources on Slow Food USA's School Garden website under the volunteer section, and also a great document from Slow Food Denver about starting school gardens, really with an eye for programs sustainability over the years. So I'm happy to share those resources with you as well if you want to send me an email after this. It looks like there was a question from John Hornbeck in Kansas City. He says, in addition to school gardens, are you also involved in community gardens or faith-based gardens?
So we are directly involved in the programming at the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley, but there are, I know, several both faith community gardens. I've seen a few of those come on over the past few months, and just community gardens on the network. So there are some really great models on the interactive map that you can discover there if you're interested. So there is not just schools on our network, there are also programs based in communities, in churches, as well as nonprofit and support organizations listed. That's a really good point. And also farm-based programs. So there's a real diversity of programs represented on the network. And our hope is that everyone can learn from them across the board.
Great. Another question from Emily. I've seen some videos that you've posted over the months and in the past. Can you talk about those videos?
Yeah, great. So we have been working with the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley staff to create some professional development videos. And these are just highlighting different aspects. It's really hoping to bring our training resources online. So these are highlighting different aspects of the programming at the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley. So we have one featuring the structures and systems and how the kitchen classroom's organized, as well as one highlighting how the outdoor kitchen functions in the Edible Schoolyard Garden, and that includes resources for teaching cooking classes with no kitchen or outdoor cooking. And we have a few more of these planned over the next few months, so it's an exciting time to for us to be sharing those. We're really proud of them.
That sounds great. Another question from Scott Lewis in Florida. Do you find schools from different edible locations, do they get in touch with each other? That is, do students contact each other, and what do they do?
Yeah, I've had this happen a few different times where I've been talking to a teacher in one location and they've mentioned that students have been in contact with each other through the network. We often are just working practitioner to practitioner on my level, but I know, for example, I believe one school in Washington, D.C. was looking to find another school on the network to be pen pals with each other. So the students were talking about the garden and their school lunch across the country and just getting a sense for their different communities and what was going on. So that was a really cool thing to see and hear about.
Scott, that's a great question. And I think we may have talked about this when we met you in February at the Slow Food Southern Regional Meeting. But Slow Food USA is hoping to launch both a national and an international pen pal program called the Global Garden Exchange. And I've been in touch with teachers from as far away as Uganda and Macedonia to India and just right here in the United States. And we're hoping to launch that in the fall of 2015. So I encourage people to keep that on their radar. If you know of schools or teachers who are interested in connecting their school garden students with those either in the United States or in other countries, please feel free to reach out and I will get you on our list. Looks like
Yeah, I really love that idea.
Andy's asking, Hannah, could you tell us a little bit more about the Edible Schoolyard Summer Academy that's happening in Berkeley in June?
Of course. I think I recognize a few names that will be joining us this summer, and I am excited to meet you all. So we have, again, an annual training we welcome about 100 educators from across the country to the Edible Schoolyard in Berkeley. It's a week-long intensive hands-on training, so everyone spends one day in the garden, one day in the kitchen, one day doing organizational development, and then we also have panels on school lunch, evaluation, fundraising during that time as well. And it is just a really great opportunity to connect with others on the ground and pick up some good professional development. So we're really proud of that program, and we're really excited to welcome new cohorts this summer.
Great, and I'm actually I have the great privilege to attend the Edible Schoolyard Summer Academy in June, and I'm leading a group of 6 slow food volunteers from different chapters across the country. So Hannah, we're really excited to meet you.
We're so excited to have you. And all the Academy resources I should mention, so the handouts and other tools that we give Academy participants are all online on the network. So you're able to access the worksheets and handouts that we share, and we'll be sharing more materials and fresh materials this summer. It's in late June, so I would look out for those in early July. So even if you're unable to attend, we do share a lot of those resources out about what's happening on the ground online on the network.
That's great. Do we have any other questions at this point? I'm also happy to unmute people if you want to ask questions through the phone. We'll see how that is.
I have a question. This is Kat in southern New Mexico, and I haven't explored the Edible Schoolyard website very much, but I had a question about curriculum and garden planning, and if there's an opportunity to group it by location and demographic that I'm working with. For example, having a desert environment and working with predominantly Mexican population, sometimes I find it difficult to find curriculum that maybe adapts for Mexican food in a healthier way or kind of uses more of a desert environment.
You can search by looking at programs by region. We don't currently have any demographic information on the network, but we do have, I think, quite a few resources from programs in the Southwest. So you can definitely find other programs in the area to connect with, but resources are generally searchable by the topic, the season, and not by the regional region that they're contributed from. So it might not be the most direct search, but I'm also happy to connect with you and connect with a few programs if you're interested that might be helpful.
Okay, great.
If you want to shoot me an email. Thank you.
It looks like Zeno is asking how the network is funded.
The network is a program of the Edible Schoolyard Project. So the Edible Schoolyard Project, again, we have a few programs, the Edible Schoolyard Berkeley, our Academy and Trainings, and then the network is also funded by the project, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Great, and another question came in from Emily asking the best ways for programs or individuals to connect through the network.
Perfect. So when we were showing the member and program profiles, both of those have contact information on them directly for the folks that are on the network. So you can go anytime onto the map and search by either by Partner for Change or region or the type of the age level that the programs are working with, and then on that profile you can connect directly with that person through email or through their website and whatever other information they've provided on those profiles. So once you go to those program profiles or member profiles, you can usually directly connect with folks there.
Wonderful. Do we have other questions from people at this time? Okay, well, it sounds like if there are no more questions, then we will wrap up. I will ask actually if people, while I have you on the call, if people have suggestions for what topics they would like to see for future Slow Food USA School Garden webinar. You can either type those into the chat box or you can say something over the phone.
Oh, another question.
I'm not. No, I'm on bus 21.
12, 21, no.
So I see that Scott is asking, oh, that's about the topic.
All right.
I would love that
Have
to watch
fun out
that
there, but
webinar.
not too much.
I think maybe Emily had another question. Okay, while we're waiting on her question, I will just speak to Scott's suggestion of talking about incorporating more heirloom recipes and Arc of Taste products in school gardens. I'm going to go ahead. Sorry. Okay, so actually we have hired a couple of interns through Slow Food USA School Garden Program who are going to be working on developing Arc of Taste curriculum. So they are looking into different varieties that are going to be suitable to be grown in school gardens, as well as coming up with lesson plans for growing, cooking, so including recipes and some cultural history as well. So we know there's been a lot of demand within the Slow Food Network to have more integration of Arc of Taste in school gardens. So we hope this curriculum development will be the first step towards that, and we will definitely have a webinar either during that creation process or upon completion. So thank you for that suggestion, Scott. Another question from Emily. She wants to hear about any trends in programs joining. Is Edible Schoolyard seeing a focus on programs of specific area or types in the network?
That's a great question. So like I mentioned, we aren't just limited to programs in schools, so we're seeing a lot of programs joining from community groups or programs that are working with several different schools in their community, so that might be really helpful for Slow Food School Garden leaders to see their resources or connect about how people are managing multiple programs. And we're also, like I mentioned earlier, really interested in learning more, well, I am personally, about high school programs and seeing what's going on the ground on the high school level. We have a lot of elementary and middle school programs on the network, and I'm hoping to see some growth there as well. But we are just really open to, and also I'm really curious to see more programs and resources from folks that are connecting with Common Core and next generation science standards in schools, just because we know how essential that is for making the case for garden education. So we are a really open network. It's of course free to join an open community, so we're always really welcome to find new perspectives and new types of programs.
That's great. Okay, and then it looks like there was another suggestion from Molly about evaluation and measuring outcomes. We have a couple of evaluation tools on the garden website, which can be found under the resources section. And we also, Andy has significant experience working with Colorado Farm to School State Task Force, which has done typically a 5 to 6 week webinar. And we're happy to try to repackage that information and deliver that in a Slow Food hour-long webinar as well. And then Heather suggested building awareness and excitement among colleagues in school gardens. Excuse me. We will certainly think about ways to work that into a future webinar as well. Okay, we can take any last questions or suggestions at this time. And if not, thank you so much, Hannah, for your participation. We're so excited to be working.
Yeah, thank you all so much. We are thrilled to be collaborating as well. So thank you so much for your time and for everyone for joining. It's great to connect with you.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.